What's up, guys? Welcome to the XL breakdown. We're going to be going over patch 8.12, which notes came out last night. We did, unfortunately, record this once on Wednesday evening, as soon as the patch hits, which is when these will normally be coming out. We want to get them out to you guys as soon as possible. It's just our first thoughts on the patch. Unfortunately, the recording broke, so we're going to have to be doing it again, and that's why Fern is also remote in this one, so you're going to be hearing him but not seeing him, unfortunately, so you're just stuck with me. But as ever, I'm just John, your host, and I'm joined by Fern.
Hey guys.
Cool, so we're just going to be talking again very briefly about the patch, some of our thoughts that we had, having just glanced at these just the one time. As you've seen, we'll just go through step by step, very standard. We've got Sendo, as you might be able to hear, streaming in the background, but that's fine. You guys are just going to have to deal with that if he starts shouting in German. Okay, so first change then, Elise, human spider form, movement speed increase. Now we've seen Elise played like once, right, in Pyroplay?
Yeah, I think she will probably see a little bit more in 8.12, but yeah.
Yeah, this is probably to compensate for the fact that with Runic Echoes losing its movement speed, the early Elise power was a bit worse because she used to just be super fast, right? You just get Mobies, Runic Echoes, and you'd be like running around the map super fast. Maybe even well, what's that tank one with movement speed? Deadman's Plate as well.
Yeah.
And this is sort of giving some of that power back.
Movement speed is just a really good stat on Elise, just because she wants to maintain like close distance all the time, and she's got a couple of good, like really good gap closer and repel. She's got Cocoon. I mean, she should be good, like because the game's really early game focused right now. But against bruisers, she's not so good as like she's more of like the assassin AP jungler kind of thing. So
okay. Might start seeing a little more release, but I don't know if it's not going to make a top tier, but it might make a viable in very specific compositions. But maybe when they've gone for a more standard like AD carry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ezreal then, one of the only marksmen you actually could play in this meta, losing 3 armor. I mean, it just feels bad to be a marksman. Another 3 armor. I mean, it does actually matter quite a lot, even though it's not that much of match armor, I think. The other weird thing about this as well, which we thought when we went through first time, is that there's no Lucian changes, and yet Lucian was the sort of the only AD carry you picked on this patch. Yeah, so it's like you pick Lucian, and then they'd sometimes pick Ezreal into it, but now you can't do that.
Yeah, and I think Ezreal was like normally when Lucian's banned, Ezreal was like who you'd go to pick into like Mordekaiser as well, for instance. But again, it's like I mean, this stat doesn't necessarily hurt that so much, but just makes the champ slightly weaker generally, which you just don't want as an AD carry right now.
Okay, so we'll probably not see very much Ezreal. We were seeing it as a Lucian counter, probably not viable as a Lucian counter anymore, I think, just because even though it's only 3 armor, you're getting hit so much. It ends up being a lot of damage over the course of a lane phase. Kindred then. I know you wanted to talk about these ones.
I just enjoy this.
Every single video that we've made for patch notes, there's been a Kindred change or buff even.
Yeah, even though like for a year up until that there was like no changes.
Yeah, there was none.
Kindred, and they just made it really bad. But
yeah,
I mean, these buffs are like really nice attack speed wise. I was saying the first time around when we filmed it that they kind of changed Kindred into more of like a traditional AD carry in terms of their build path. When before AD carry changes, like item changes were in place, and there was a situation where like you'd go warrior and then quite often defensive boots because you're already about getting like one shot in the early game because you're just an AD carry running around the jungle. And then you wouldn't have any attack speed for a long time. Like you wouldn't be able to invest in any attack speed for a long time. So now this gives you a lot more, like just generally early.
Yeah, 15% on the Q is like a big deal.
Yeah, and then the growth as well, like allows you to scale much faster and much quicker. I've also heard rumors, whether this comes out or whether it doesn't, I don't know. We'll see in our next kind of patch rundown, but that Kindred's heal, like a missing health heal when she auto attacks, is coming back. So maybe I think slowly she might all of a sudden just become like
really
right
broken.
up there again as a competitive.
It's one of those ones where they keep doing little buffs to them until a point where maybe then the meta shifts to allow them in anyway, and they've been having all these little buffs and then they're suddenly broken. That seems to happen. Well, not often, but a few times.
I actually do think there's a world where, if this happens, and AD carries are still maintained like being really weak for a while, that Kindred AD is actually a real thing because I mean she's a champion that does do fairly well still with like on-hit builds, so you can still go like Blade of the Ruined King and Black Cleaver like you do on the Lucian. We even saw in LCK a bit of like into an Aurelion Soul they put duo lane mid. So I think for a strategy like that, where if you put a duo lane mid into like a roaming mid laner, and then you actually are in the center of the map, so you can get all your marks when you get the push, could actually be like a legit viable strategy and be much stronger than any of the ADs because she hasn't had any other base stats like nerfed, and she's just slowly been buffed all the time. So maybe that's a real thing that like we see in the near future, but we'll have to see on that.
We'll have to see. I don't think it just straight in the jungle she's going to be played, only because the kind of champions that are being played, these super early skirmishing champions that Kendra's never been particularly strong at.
Yeah, for sure. And you just not
see some weird things
like
there.
Bruisers. Like if you're playing Kindred against like a Aurelia, like just what do you do? Like, you just literally die every time. So.
Lee Sin then, another one who's just been getting like sly buffs all the time. From the outset, you'd maybe expect that Lee Sin to be good in this meta, lots of early fighting early on, but he just doesn't clear fast enough.
I mean, his clear is pretty healthy, just too slow generally, and it's not like you could get a Tiamat and just hope that that's okay. Because that again doesn't even synergize that well with Lee Sin. So,
I mean, maybe you go for the E Max as it's been buffed, and you go for that in terms of clear.
So. Yeah, you just hold off on the W. The W's now got a lower base cooldown.
I mean, instead of Q, like, is that something that because it increases your clear, it will make you slightly worse skirmishing, but you'll still be good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely increases your clear.
Because it's a scaling buff. That's one
closing. Yeah. I mean, maybe.
30 more damage at rank 9. It had a massive reduced cooldown last patch.
Like, it's definitely something that should be able to contest like these jungle mid duos, like the Taraki and stuff. Because
if you had a bit of gold,
and just fight early really hard, like while clearing your own jungle pretty safely, because you've got a lot more like gap closers or like distance makers than like a Taraki has. So
something to see. I might actually give Emax Lee a test.
Maybe
might be enough.
Get Taxa on it.
Yeah. Okay, Poppy then next. Passive cooldown increased late, Q cooldown decreased, ratio increased. Passive, so it's not buffing the lane, you get 2 seconds at level 13. I mean, that helps her one-on-ones quite a lot, especially in lane. It's not so common that you pick them up a lot in team fights, right?
Yeah, I mean, normally you just get the one initially and then get the shield and that's it. So the cooldown probably doesn't matter for that. Laning phase, it helps her a lot.
Yeah.
Like every 8 seconds you get a free trade basically. Poppy normally just uses the range auto attack, especially versus other melee champs, to just pick up the buckler, have a big shield, walk in, trade, walk out, and you basically trade your shield health for their HP, which is always favourable.
Decent Q buff as well. 1 second off at rank. At each rank. That's where all her damage comes from. Pretty well, not all her damage, but a large portion of her damage comes from.
So
that's really good. 4 second cooldown on the Q means it's going to be on all the time, right? Or pretty much, because it'll be hit, second hit, slight pause, hit, second hit. Like that's going to be a lot of damage, I think, coming out now.
Yeah, for sure. And I've heard very good things about her on this patch with the new Sterax and things like that, and the interactions with that. So I think she's probably pretty viable now as well, especially with a lot of like dashing bruisers around, which she can actually, if you did have an AD carry on your team or something squishier, she can actually use her W to protect that a lot while still doing a lot of damage.
Yeah.
She's very good at locking down single targets. Her general issue though is that her team fighting just hasn't been as good as other tanks because she doesn't have many AoE abilities. So, but yeah, I think she's actually strong.
Okay, cool. Next one then, Rumble. W shield increase, R damage increase. Shield is good. It's 20 damage from level 1 and a 0.1 ability power increase.
Yeah, it's a lot, I think.
Which is, yeah, a lot. And not only is it, I mean, it's from level 1, it's still a 20 increase, right? So again, this is the same thing with the armor, as you might think 20, that's a decent amount. But when you're using, if you use this, like, I don't know, 10 times the block damage, that's an extra 200 health that you've just got in the lane. Like, that's actually really, really strong.
Yeah, and it's like an extra 10% of whatever AP you've got counts towards that shield as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not even just the base 20. It's obviously not that much early on, but scales very well. Like, scales much better than it did. I mean, this is definitely a champion that should be good on this patch, but you just haven't seen any of it because she got very cheap item breakpoints where like you can get very cheap magic pet. Like you can literally get like a nullifying orb and Sork shoes and Rumble does so much damage. Like just literally with those two items, which is like 2,500 gold or something. When other people are getting their first item, Rumble's like spiking and hitting level 6 as well. So I mean, I think it could actually be good. I just think it's one of those that people have
the W means it's slightly less
disregarded.
At the moment, he's a bit, well, before this patch, he was a bit bullyable in lane, but with the extra W shield.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the issue with the champ was that it was an early game champ, but it had a W that was the Q got changed so that you couldn't really use the cooldown properly. You couldn't stack the passive, which made it really hard.
Okay, so we think this might actually bring him back into the meta. More ult damage as well. I mean, his ult was already really strong. It's just going to be even stronger. Better AP scale, which means he'll scale better into the late game.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe slightly more AP heavy builds, like getting a Revenants more often, stuff like that. Could be useful.
Sure.
Right, next one. Sejuani Icebreaker deals less damage versus monsters, but no longer has a cooldown against them. More units can be frozen. W costs less. Now has AP ratios, E damage, and ratio increased. So rather than having that crazy level 1 permafrost icebreaker proc thing, it's going to be slightly less than that, but it's going to be much more consistent, and it also works against medium monsters. So it's gonna. This should really increase her jungle play, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we're still seeing a lot of brawn. So I think in these compositions, especially versus lots of melee champs and with lots of melee champs on your team, it synergizes really well. I think you could still have a lot of like Sejuani brawn compositions, where there's just very consistent and like fail safe crowd control coming out onto a lot of the enemy champs in these skirmishes. But she just does like so little damage that I think it's quite hard to break through a lot of these of these bruises right now for her.
Could we be seeing the sort of thing that we saw on Gragas in the last patch, in that he gets the Runic Echoes item and then a bit tanky?
I mean, these WAP ratios would kind of suggest that it would lead to that. Also, the mana cost going down is a nice thing for Sejuani because anytime she was denied blue buff in the early game, which can happen quite regularly now with the amount of late level 1 invades we see. If that does happen, like Sejuani was pretty much useless for like the next 4 minutes. So
the E ratio doubled as well.
Yeah, with the AP ratio up, the mana down. I mean, yeah, it's in a good spot, I think.
I think I could definitely see. It's not cool. Is it called Runic Echo still? But the AP jungle item. Into more tanky thing, stuff like Knight's Vow, that sort of thing. I think that could be quite strong on Sejuani. She's got 2 new AP ratios and then one that's been doubled. And the one that's been doubled can now be used over and over again on camps. So that's quite that's going to be quite good. Cool. So that is something we could actually see. I think we could actually see Sejuani into this as well. Talia, we talked about this last time. I actually really like this Talia change. There's a couple of other changes in this patch which are sort of the opposite of this, I think. But basically, Talia jungle became super strong after the hotfix change in
the highest priority jungler on the patch, right?
Oh, I've accidentally jumped onto Talia's page because I was clicking around. And what they've done is, rather than just saying, right, she can't be a jungler anymore, they're just saying she can be a jungler, but she does less. She's not going to take over the games in the same way. So each rock beyond the first does 10% less just the champions. So the clear's still going to be good, the ganky's still going to be good, the speed's still going to be good, but it's not going to be she's going to jump into your lane and then one Q is going to like half health you.
For sure. I mean, we've always said how much we hate like any changes that just things being an option in League of Legends. I mean, like if they were just Q does 10% damage to monsters, but full damage to minions or something would just destroy what she does. So I mean, stuff like this gives options. I also saw Talia being played today in LCK on 8-11, like in mid lane.
Mid lane, yeah.
So
into zone.
I think it. So I mean, the champion being viable in 2 roles would even increase the viability of the champion, even if it's the highest tier jungler. So I think this is just. I mean, she's still going to be super high priority. She's probably going to be played mid too. Yeah, I think that's kind of where she's at.
Okay, cool. Yorick Q cooldown decreased late. Mistwalkers and Mistmates and update their stats when Yorick's stats change. That last one was just a quality of life thing, right? So when you go into the shop, any monsters and minions you've got still up. Sorry, Mistwalkers and Maidens that you got still up. Stats changed as well. Q cooldown lowered again. This is another one, right? Where I talked about this last time. I want to tell my little anecdote. This is like the thing where the European teams, for example, or the European teams like National League teams that we all scrim against, everyone's playing lots of weird things. And so you sort of feel like everyone's tried all these champions that you think should work. So Yorick should be good in this sort of meta when there's lots of fighting. He doesn't want to get super late game because he then just gets kited around and stuff.
Yeah,
he should be good. I feel like we'd be seeing him because someone must have tried him, but maybe everyone's thinking that, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's probably not good," because otherwise we'd be seeing a lot of him. I mean, so I don't know what this extra second gives him, but
I think the champ's super good versus tanks. The one tank that it's probably not so great against is Ornn, who just has such a strong kit for, like, immediately clears the Mistwalkers with AoE, percentage health damage of the W, has a shield built up, can destroy Yorick's terrain around him, and I mean, Ornn is just like such a different champ to the other tanks in terms of the kit, and that's the main tank we're seeing. It kind of makes it a little bit hard for something like Yorick.
I just saw, actually, before we go too deep, the reasoning for the nerf. So he has no bonus AD ratios in his kit, so with the Sterex shift, he's going to be really nerfed from that.
Yeah.
Hadn't actually considered that. I thought he had bonus AD ratios, but I guess not. So that's actually probably going to be the other way around, overall nerf.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Because again, I do think, as you were saying, I do think there is space for him in this meta.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll just move on then, because that that's just that. Jhin bug fix. What was happening, for people who don't know, is Stormrazor's crit is 160% crit, and Jin's 4th shot crit is just a normal crit, so 200%. If your Stormrazor's was up, it was overriding the crit, so you'd actually do less damage with Stormrazor's if you're waiting for it to proc. So that's good that that's bug fixed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that in itself would bring Jhin into the meta, just because of the state of AD carries at the moment. And he's not particularly great at dealing with tanks.
No.
But
I mean, when AD carries were weak before, AD carries that had CC were the better of the AD carries to deal with anything like this. So he does have CC in his kit. He has like a lot of kite ability when you use the champ well. So I mean, maybe there is a spot there for him, but
mid patch 8.11. Oh, sorry, I thought
that's just the mid changes.
Yeah. That's all done. Okay, shield and allied shield and abilities and items. So shield's getting hit really hard, basically.
Yeah.
So Janna's 1 decays rather than just being over 5 seconds. It decays over 5 seconds, although there is a 0.75 grace period, so it stays at max for 0.75 and then decays to 0 by the end. So if you're not taking any damage, you still get the AD the whole time. But if you don't shield at the correct time, it's really punished.
Yeah, I think a lot of these shield changes are very similar. Very much the duration changes.
The only one that stands out in terms of the duration changes, just for a quick down to the point, is Lulu's, which was way longer, still drops to the same amount of time.
Yeah, it's like almost a third of its duration. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's the big issue, and always been the big issue with shield in support champions, and then shield in mid champions, is that you don't need to actually be skillful with your shield, and you can be like lots of people that get to super high elo and stuff off of just playing what people call e-girl champions, right? And like just sit back and just press your shield at the start of a fight and hope your AD carry wins the fight for you. But now you actually need to be thinking about your shield. You need to be getting in the fight to actually shield your AD carry at the right time and try and block the core, like the key damage output from the enemy team. And I just think it makes the champions more skillful. I don't think it makes them bad. I just think you need to be actually good at the champs to use them. You can't just brain AFK, just put your shield on at the start of the fight and actually play out the fight like that.
The shielding items though are just a straight nerf. So all these items, just
there's no way around that. It's just
one thing that I was talking about earlier with some of the people on the team is that Soraka. Does this make Soraka stronger? Because she still feels that same role, but everyone else has got nerfed. Like, even though, yes,
and I mean,
you could argue that if you play it perfectly, these shields are just as good as before. But it is still just a nerf, even in the fact that you used to be able to, with Lulu, for example, just help picks on someone before a fight, and then by the time the shield breaks off, it's got 6 seconds less of cooldown or whatever it is. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it is a straight nerf. Like, if you play it perfectly, it's still pretty similar, but I mean, again, it's like you're in this situation where nobody plays every fight perfectly, even if you're pro level like support player. So it's always going to be a nerf, and then especially the items is just sad. I mean, I guess like Soraka and Nami technically benefit, like are less hit by this, but again, they're still hit by like Ardent, Mikhail's Redemption nerfs. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Unholy Grail buffed, so the more damage you do is turned into the healing. So this might be, initially I was thinking these sort of changes are maybe due to the fact that we're seeing like Karma and Lulu and stuff in mid, right?
Yeah.
This change actually is beneficial for supports, right? If I'm reading it right, rather than mid. So as in, a mid Karma is going to reach the cap of Athene's Unholy Grail healing quite fast, even with 25% of it damage, even with 25% of the damage converting into it. Whereas the support, because they're dealing less damage, is going to reach the cap much slower. So this is actually, even though we were seeing less Athenes in bot lane and more Athenes in mid lane, I think this Athenes change is actually better for people who are building it in bot lane, and basically the same for people who are building it in mid.
Yeah.
Which I quite like. I think this is a good way to do a change. We're just coming on to what I made a reference before. They just completely removed banner command.
Yeah. I mean, we had a bit of a discussion about this. We're not going to go into that too much, but
I'd like to have seen them try something with it rather than just get rid of it, basically. And that's pretty much it, really.
Yeah, I don't like things just being taken away. I think you could definitely solve the problems, or even if you made the item underpowered, like, that's okay. And then just slowly kind of work out, like, if you make it underpowered, not many people are going to buy it, and then you can, while it's underpowered, you can work out a way to make it good, rather than just go, we're going to get rid of it, and then...
I still think there were definitely ways you could have made it an option. For example, some of the things we talked about last time when we did this were stuff like getting rid of a lot of the actual stats on it, so you're sacrificing your own power.
You have to use the active
you have to use the active well for it to be worth it. And you can't just, if you're picking it up and just spamming it in lanes, you're probably actually better off getting any other item, because you'll just be way less tanky with this.
Yeah, and you're just a less tanky tank than the other tank in the enemy team, and as a result you die very quickly.
Or the idea of having some sort of leash range as well. I think both of those would be better than this.
Then just getting rid of it,
but
for sure.
What can you do? Serix Gauge, this is just so it's a sort of flat power item rather than being kind of good and really good with Triforce. I think that's a good change. Doesn't make that much difference. Bug fix or more. Now we'll do runes quickly. Presence of Mind, just bug fix, it seems. Yeah.
Bug fix.
Sorcery, I quite like this one. Celerity. So basically, if you were taking it for just the movement speed, it's been nerfed. If you had movement speed and you were taking it for the damage conversion, it's actually better now than it was. I haven't done the exact numbers on it, or even any numbers on it, but that's the idea, I think. So I assume it's right, and it's not just like less damage. So
yeah, I mean it's like doubled in its ratios, right?
So good for
the
people.
Percentage damage conversion is doubled on AD and AP. So I mean it's definitely more about when you're building move speed, you actually get benefit from it rather than just wanting the move speed from the rune.
Yeah, so good for people like Hecarim, stuff like that. People who have an inbuilt movement speed thing. Not so good. Not just like the one you take on everyone if you haven't got a very specific thing you want. Because 3% move speed was just very, very useful. Like that.
Sure.
Domination. This is again the same thing that where they do a lot with they've done with Kindred, they're doing with Lee Sin, that sort of thing. Is they have something in there that no one's really using, so they just keep buffing it to see where that point where it becomes too strong. I think it was already actually a bit overlooked. I think people were a bit too harsh on it. I think it did have its uses, and I think this makes it even stronger. So from rank 1, it's like half again.
I think there wasn't like it definitely had a visible usage on certain champions, but I think people were like, are the 3 initial auto attacks worth more than with the stats I get out of this than just like take a lethal tempo or something like that anyway? And just yes, I might get those initial 3 off like slower, but as a result I've got more team fight like attack speed throughout. This is something I've again experimented a little bit with on Kindred and feel like super impactful, but I mean I think it was just slightly undertuned, so maybe this does the job.
Resistance, don't care about that.
Yeah, that's
new player experience, don't care about that. Emotes, more than don't care about that. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Like I said, normally these are going to be coming out every other week. The day the patch comes out, we'll be doing it straight after work. So we just get our very rough, quick thoughts on it so that you guys can maybe take something from this. But yeah, thanks very much for watching.